If you're anything like me, you probably use Anki for school or a new job. It could be working with all kinds of medicine, it could be in law, or it could even be in programming. These are what most people will likely use Anki for, but have you considered using this handy tool to learn other things that could enhance your life? It's possible you might not have thought about using it for what you'll hear suggested in this video, but it may prove to be life-changing or even life-saving. It might even help you land a new job, or at the very least, impress people and convince them of your genius. So let's dive in and talk about 5 Anki decks you can add to your collection right away. The first deck here will be for emergencies, and this can contain all sorts of different facts and scenarios to best prepare you for disaster. These are things you'll be glad you internalised in the case that you'll end up needing them in the most unexpected circumstance. It's better to be safe than sorry. Picture this, your car's hijacked, you're left stranded in the middle of nowhere, severely injured, penniless, without a phone, and possibly with only the clothes on your back. Or imagine your car breaks down and you left your phone at home. Who are you going to call? Would you know the number to call from memory alone? Maybe you need to know your national insurance number, Social Security in the US. Other numbers that could be essential to know offhand could be your banking details, in the case that you need to pay any bills or receive money from a relative. The account number, sort code, routing in the US, will be vital. Going back to the scenario of your car breaking down, do you know what to do when you get in a car accident? How do you go about changing a tyre? Maybe you need to know first aid. Know how to manage a seizure or administer a P-pen? Or what if your kids get into an accident and ER asks for your national insurance number, Social Security in the US? What if there's a fire in your house and you're faced with a vicious, wild beast ready to take your face off? Well, depending on where you live, you might need to know the risks. Of course, this will be dependent where you are and what you do for a living. Did you know that when coming across those vicious wild beasts in your weekend hike, acting the right way can save or cost your life, and it varies by species? Even though it's not an emergency, necessarily speaking, I also feel it may be worth knowing some household maintenance. Do you know how to turn off the water line if it bursts? Do you know how to turn the electrics off and on again? Well, this may sound a lot, but if you think about it, these are things people can learn unconsciously. Like that one phone number you've not gotten out of your head since as long as you can remember. I only know where my router is because I've had to restart it so many times, but sometimes you'll want to get in contact with your ISP. Sometimes it's hard to really find out what's going on in your area. But speaking of your ISP, I also think that while it's not as vital as knowing how to perform CPR, it can be useful these days to know some basic networking and cybersecurity. I'm going to take a wild guess that most people watching this video will have at least some awareness of how to protect themselves, and while a lot of work from home jobs will give you a laptop with the guidance on how to install Amazon workspaces, if you're a freelancer or working for a small business, it might fall down to you to decide what to install. Some questions to ask yourself could be, how do you define a DNS or a firewall? What's a VPN good for? And how do you know it can protect you from hackers when using public Wi-Fi? What's a virtual machine? You can also speed through one or two of these courses using Anki to support you into higher positions, not just in the actual skills but also the certification. There are courses like CISSP that can get you into an average salary of £63,000 to £192,000, or how about CISA that can get you into £82,000 to £131,000 annually. Or if you are interested in network and router related careers, you can consider CCNA. Looking at UK talent here, the average CCNA salary in the United Kingdom is £40,000 per year, or £20.51 per hour. Entry-level positions start at $32,500 per year, while most experienced workers can make up to $52,500 per year. When I worked for a small social media company, I was to design logos and create videos using the Adobe Creative Suite. Now, if you're like me, transferring your skills from Photoshop to Illustrator is difficult to do. Nothing feels intuitive, as it feels like you're working in an entirely new environment, and I think that's because on one side of the coin you're working with vectors, which are made of points, and on the other you're working with photos, which are made up of pixels, and each project requires a different set of instructions. Knowing your software shortcuts can reduce your learning curve by cutting the amount of time you're hunting through menus to find a specific tool, and focusing more on the creative process. Next up, we can talk about communication. Lots of people like to learn a second language, whether it be because they plan to move or because they plan to visit and admire the culture. But instead of devoting a lot of time and effort to learning a whole new language, you could instead opt to learn some of the most common phrases in many languages. I'm talking about some of the most common languages such as German, French, Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Mandarin, Japanese, and so on. Not only can this impress people and put a smile on their face, but you'll immediately come across more educated, memorable, and likeable. Likewise, learning the way certain words are pronounced can come in clutch to save yourself some awkward situations. One of the ways you can use Anki to make this world a better place is to lighten up the world for people with certain disabilities. For example, the hearing impaired. For those afflicted, the world can seem like a lonely place, or like living in a country where the majority of people don't understand your language. Thankfully, Anki lets you easily import sign language images with attachments. Depending on the image you found, you could either use plugins to cover up diagrams, or just insert the image as is. But as for now, hopefully this video has given you some food for thought. I don't blame anyone for getting the idea that they have to dedicate themselves to one specific field to excel in. Given how difficult it can be to get anywhere these days, financially speaking, it is important to remember though that you can have multiple decks, and you can even create decks of decks, with an algorithm that can juggle all these for you. One analogy we can make to this is with programming. You can specialise in Python, but once you know the basic syntax of a language, you can rework anything you see online. Speaking of which, I do have a couple other videos on Anki already that you can check out, one of which is how to learn programming concepts with Anki. Generally speaking though, I have covered different ways to implement cards with the software, including plugins like Awesome CTS for learning how to spell and pronounce words in any language. If you did enjoy this video, a like and subscribe would be very much appreciated. I hope you all have a very pleasant morning, afternoon or evening depending on when you watch this video, and bye for now.